Okay, here's a relatable problem. We have here an Instagram post that refers to an academic study. This is something that you might run into as you navigate the web and find your way through these various social media services, or even examples like news media and other places will refer to academic studies. And they often do it in a very vague way. They won't give an actual academic citation. What they'll do is just kind of vaguely refer to a study that has certain findings that are interesting, and that's all the information that you get. And so now I'm going to show you how you can take this and actually roll this into the academic literature and actually find your way to these studies and evaluate the accuracy and the honesty of posts like this that you find. So the statement that we get in social media is second born kids cause most trouble, study finds. Now, study finds is doing a lot of heavy lifting in terms of the credibility of this post. We do get a little bit more information in the right-hand column. There's more detail about this study. So it's telling us it's a study from MIT. That's going to be helpful. It also is telling us that they use data from families in the US and Denmark. That's also going to be very helpful information for us to track this down. And finally, it gave some exact percentages in terms of findings, and that's often something that you can use to track down the original articles. So I wanted to find this. It took me a few tries, if I'm being honest. I did eventually find it with just a general Google search for MIT second-born children in Denmark. That was all I needed to find my way first to an AI overview that links to this study itself, but also the first non-AI result was this article from MIT Sloan. That is the article that it's referring to. So, that would have been a lot easier if they had provided a direct citation and reference, and that's the reason why you provide that information in that format when you write a research paper, is so that it's easier to find. But I did find my way based on some of the markers that I found in the original post to the article itself. So here's the original article. It's called Birth Order and Delinquency, Evidence from Denmark and Florida. It's quite a long and detailed article. It's 50 pages long. And so for this to be synthesized down into this very simple statement should tell us something, right? There's a lot more information in terms of how they studied this, some of the limitations that they might have run into, and some of the other things that they might have examined. And that's not fully reflected in such a short social media post. But we did find our way to the article, and we can confirm through the abstract here, second-born boys are on the order of 20 to 40% more likely to be disciplined in school and enter the criminal justice system compared to first-born boys. So that statement is more or less what they're saying here. They haven't provided a lot of the nuance and depth for academic discussion, but they've certainly reflected the numbers correctly. So in doing a comparison between the Instagram post and this original article, there's a few things that I've noticed. So first off, there's often a focus on the most kind of sensationalized aspects of the study. This comes up a lot where a social media posting or a news article will often focus on one narrow element of a larger study. Some studies will actually be much broader than the actual thing that gets reported on, so it might just be one tiny aspect of a much broader study. But that little aspect is the thing that's going to drive engagement in a social media post. What's really driving that engagement is not a nuanced exploration of a broad and complex topic, but people are driven mostly by their sort of personal investment in that topic. And so you see that when you scroll down to the comments. Aside from this second comment, this person is asking what studies, and that's exactly the type of question that people should be asking. But aside from this one, most people are responding to this based on their own kind of vibes, as opposed to really investigating the study itself. So that's just something to think about. It's really meant to get people's emotional responses involved in this, because that makes them more likely to click links and comment. So all of this is meant to drive engagement. And that's the sort of broad lesson here, is that posts like this aren't really designed as means to communicate the results of academic studies. This isn't really participating in the scholarly conversation around this topic. It's more meant to engage people based on their emotional responses to this type of information to get clicks. Another thing that I'll mention is that it's very important when we have original academic research like this to remember that this is one study in a long line of different studies and academic investigations on this topic. So this isn't meant to be like the final say on birth order and delinquency. If we look at some of the studies that they cite, these are studies that came before them that looked at the impact of birth order on things like delinquency and school truancy and other stuff like that. They refer to a bunch of other studies that might draw different conclusions and might even contradict the results of this particular study. You can go and read those sources and see what they say about the topic, right? Also, using Google Scholar or some of the other library databases, you can find this study and you can use the cited by link to actually open up a list of people who have cited this article since it was published. So just keep that in mind, that this is one piece of the scholarly conversation. It's not the be-all and end-all of that topic, and we can't just draw conclusions out of a single study. So always remember that when you're navigating on the web, whether it's a social media post or a news article or anything else that you find online. This type of communication is meant to drive engagement and get clicks. It's not meant to communicate scientific information to us. Make sure that if it refers to an academic study, that you have the skills now to go and investigate that original study, see what it says, and see how it compares to the original post. So I hope that was useful. If you have any questions about this aspect of research or anything related to library research, please come see us in the library and ask us questions. We're always happy to respond to questions and help you find your way. And if you like these videos, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and keep learning more about different aspects of library research and academic research and navigating the information ecosystem that we have in front of us that can be pretty complex and confusing. So again, I hope that was useful, and hope to see you around the library, and you have a nice day.